evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my podcast. It is June 14th. It is 6 p.m. It is Dallas, Texas. I'm Ken Goldberg. I'm going to host. How did they do that? How does they compose music like that? Really? Hi, Chris, Kathy, Rachel, Becky. Hi, everybody. Yeah, really. I've tried composing. Now, I've never known a classical composer, but I got to tell you, guys who I've watched about Elton John, so he's gonna he made the lyrics and Taupin made the music, or vice versa. Anyways, that's pretty cool. Somebody sits down and writes a rock song or a folk song, but to compose symphonies, to compose something that's got, hi Kathy, something that's got all those various instruments, multiple instruments. I mean, like not just a violin, many violins, and then to reduce it to a piece of paper that others can look at and actually play. I mean, when you go to the symphony or hell, go to a chamber orchestra experience, just amazing. I'm amazed. And when I watch the greats, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, your ex-husband was, I guess you're going to say, a composer. I'm pretty certain, I don't want to be insulting, pretty certain that your ex-husband wasn't on the level of a Bach, a Beethoven, a Mozart. I mean, Mozart's extraordinary too. And Beethoven, well, was it Beethoven that went deaf? I mean, come on. These are extraordinary compositions that are far too complex for me to even imagine. I can't even imagine how you create the composition. I can't imagine how somebody sat down and thought, well, this is what I'll have the violins play, and this is what the cellos will play, and I'll have some horns over here, and I'll have a timpani over here, and I'll have drums over there, and I'll put in a flute and a piccolo and all that. I mean, just, so by the way, Rachel, if your husband was capable of doing that, maybe you guys should have wrote it out together, because that's some real smart shit there. All right, welcome. It is now 6:04. It's still June 14, 2021. I'm still Ken Goldberg, and welcome. This is my podcast, loosely referred to as Law and Disorder, and also formally referred to as Law and Disorder. How do you like that? I got it covered all the way from informal to formal. So today, let me tell you, I just posted my ride. Normally I come home and I plug in my bike computer and I take a look at stats, and then I post it to Facebook just for whatever. And today I got home, I was too damn tired. I left the house at 9:15. I got back at 2 p.m. When I went out the door at 9 something to take out the garbage, I knew I was in trouble. It was already 80 something degrees. Humidity was 76%. You could feel it. It was oppressive at that hour, and it only gets worse as the day goes on. But, my bad for not getting out earlier. So off I went, and I didn't know where I was going. Chris is here, during the weekdays, I would often call Chris because he lives in Dallas. Anyways, I would call him and say, "Hey, man, what you up to? Want to meet and bike, and go get some lunch?" And Chris usually says, "Yeah," unless he's really busy. Well, there's no Chris. He's off in Indiana. I bike alone. So literally what I do, I don't say it's smart, but this is what I do. I just get on the bike and start riding. And if I don't have a plan, like I'm going to meet Chris, if I don't have a plan, if you asked me in the first 4 blocks which direction I would turn when I got to the street, the main street where you have to decide, I couldn't tell you. Well, I got there and I'm like, should I turn right and go by the lake myself? Should I go left? Should I go north? There's lots of different ways to go. And I said, you know what? I'm going to turn left. That means I went north. So I'm heading north, but I don't know where I'm going. I just went north because after a heavy rain, and we've had much heavy rain, it's hard to go south. So I'm just going north. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. About half a mile in, I finally thought I came up with a plan. Indiana wants me. Lord, I can't go back there. So I went up north and I went west. I went to this lovely little neighborhood. I posted videos today. It's a lovely little area that somebody turned me on to. So you bike there. It's about a 10-mile bike to get there. And then it just meanders along this creek in the backside of these really nice homes. And it's really cute. I mean, you rarely see a bicyclist over there. You see walkers and dog walkers and stuff like that. You see residents walking. And so I did that, and I got lost 2-3 times in there because it's not well marked. Here's the interesting thing, not interest you, interest to me. I got lost, and twice I found myself right back in a spot I'd been in, but wasn't planning to revisit. I was turned around, and when I got somewhere, I'm like, oh, I was just here. It was okay. And then I went back, but I took a separate way back, a different way back. I added on miles. So I'm telling you, it was hot. It was oppressive. I took a lot of water, some fruit and stuff, and I decided, you know what? I am getting me some ice cream today, right? I mean, I'm committed. Sometimes I think it'd be nice to get some ice cream. Sometimes I think if it's convenient, I'll get ice cream. This time I'm like, I know exactly how I'm going to get to the ice cream parlor now, okay? And so I got there. Now, normally I pop in. They're very sweet young kids, teenagers. Hello, have you ever been here before? They always ask that. They've been trained to ask, you ever been here before? And then I guess they explain, but I've been there before. And I'm like, yeah. But I was so worn out already. I was like, yes, hi. And so instead of the kitty cup that I usually get, I nailed a whole scoop. I'm like, I'm down. Give me a whole scoop of cheesecake with Oreo cookie in it. That's the name of the ice cream. Cheesecake Oreo or Oreo cheesecake. I don't know. I got that bad boy. I'm going to tell you something. A scoop is almost too much for me, right? But I did that bad boy. I got it. Pop. And then I headed home. And you know what I did? I turned the battery up. I've been riding with the battery on. It's so hot, man. I turned the battery up. I'm like, take me home. If I had autopilot on that bicycle after the ice cream, I do believe I would have engaged the autopilot. I'm just thinking that because I was a whip puppy, but it's at least 7 miles from there. No, it's more. It's like 9 miles from the ice cream store home. So, the only way to get 9 miles on a bicycle is to bike 9 miles. And I got home and I told you, normally I would post, my ride. I posted about 10 minutes ago. I'll post my, if I got videos and stuff. Man, I came in and the only reason I didn't just lay down in my bed and chill is because I was too sweaty to lay in my bed, man. I was like, So I took a shower first, and then I crashed. So let me tell you, that's just trivial. That's trivial, man. Here's the meat of the matter. Please pay attention. We're getting to the meat of the matter. All right. So I want to tell you about my social life. Now, some people have tried to stifle my discussion of my social life on my podcast. They don't do it here, they do it privately. Now, I want to tell you something, man. One, this is Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder. Two, I don't have a program or plan for Law and Disorder. It's me, 6 to 6:45, right? So what part of my life is off limits, right? What part would be off limits? Would my social life be off limits? My love life be off limits? My recovery life, that I'm in AA, would that be off limits? What should I? People have been telling me my whole life something that about me that I have shared in, whether it's in court or whatever. Listen, I've been in court and told the judge, dude, I was a full-on gangster with guns, the whole thing. And I'm telling you that what you just said while you were sentencing my client 10 minutes ago doesn't jive with what I know, right? So I'm putting it out there. I mean, what more truth does any human being have than their own, whatever this thing is? We've talked about this organism. This is mine, right? If I ain't sharing that, I'm going to be hard-pressed to be terribly honest, because this isn't a science show. So I'm not going to sit up here with a blackboard or a whiteboard and tell you about E = mc squared. Screw that. No, this is me. It's my life. So for those of you that want nothing to do with my social life, my romance, whatever it is, that's all right, man. That's why they got a mouse. So you can get the out. All right. So here's what happened. So I've been slowly putting my foot back into the pool of sociability, right? So I told y'all I went to a party not too long ago, and I made a friend or two, I don't remember, on Facebook, woman or two. I already knew the guys, I think, whatever. Anyways, so I did reach out socially. And here's the thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is, I friended somebody on Facebook. I initiate communication. I get a response. It's cool, And then I say, well, let's get together. They said, cool. And then everything goes silent. Never hear anything again. It's just like Match.com. Facebook is just like Match.com. Anyways, then I met somebody on my meditation. I normally do not engage with people at the meditation because I'm the teacher, but this was their first time. They were a friend of a friend. Blah, 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 blah. So I issued a waiver for Ken. And same thing. Initial contact seems pleasant. Perhaps we could get a juice, right? I'm down with it. I'm looking for people that share my values, right? So, and then silence again. So I got up this morning and I did like a quick inventory. Well, that's me, Joan. I got up this morning, I kind of did an inventory between Match.com, some conversations that were going on, and Facebook and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm brushing my teeth. I know exactly the moment it hit me. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm like, man, screw this social stuff. Screw this engagement with members of the opposite sex. Don't need it. I mean, I'm not going to go crazy. I need to get a hobby. I told this to a good friend, and they said, well, you bicycle. And I said, yeah, I do. And that is kind of a hobby. But guess what? I must have too much time because I'm still getting my feelings hurt, so to speak. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. On Match.com or Facebook. So I sit down, I type one person, and I said to them, they had reached out to me 5 days after my last message to them and said, hey, where you been? I'm like, I ain't been nowhere, but you didn't respond to my last thing. So, hey, hello. They didn't respond to that. I'm like, oh, you know what? So I got up this morning, I typed out a thing and said, you know what? This is really awkward. Homie, don't play this. So good luck. And then I went for my bike ride. And I'm on my bike and I'm thinking about this stuff, right? I mean, I'd started with toothbrush and continued on. And I'm like, communication with people. First off, I'm very I'm very sincere. I really am. I may be nuts. I may be socially inappropriate, but I'm sincere. So if I reach out to you, male or female, and I'm trying to initiate a friendship thing, I mean it. And I'll give you another example. During the pandemic, I have a lady. She's a neighbor lady. She's gay, so wasn't a relationship thing, but we saw each other at the hospital when a friend of mine was dying. And so I reached out and I said, hey, maybe we should all get together sometime. Yeah, sure. So I reached out one or two more times, nothing. So I'm like, yeah, never mind. And I did that a couple of times during the pandemic. Like, would you like to, sit in the backyard and talk, And all I got was people saying, yeah, no, or yeah, but no. I mean, in other words, they'd say yeah, but when you follow up, nothing. So back to the moment. So I'm riding and I'm thinking about this stuff and I'm thinking, what is the value of these engagements? When do you have enough friends? And if you're going to add friends, what value do you add, right? I meet people in Texas, and I think if they tend to be liberal, I almost tend to make a little bit extra effort to be friendly because it's like finding a diamond in the rough, right? So I did an inventory of my existing friends. Like, do I need to add to the bundle that I call friends? You know what I mean by bundle? You bundle things up. You can bundle friends. I've been in Dallas a long time, not as long as I was in Chicago. I left Chicago when I was 43. I lived there 43 years. I've never lived anywhere that long, right? I'd have to be 86. So, I still have a lot of friends in Chicago. I have friends in Tucson, where I lived for a while. But I lived in Dallas the second longest in my life of living someplace other than Chicago. And here's the thing. I did an inventory, and really, I have not put together a great number of friends. I've got some guys and gals in AA, and maybe 2-3 friends that aren't in AA. And I thought about it, and I thought, but we don't talk anymore. I got friends that we used to maybe go to lunch, or we used to go to the symphony or something, whatever it is. Well, the pandemic didn't just kill going out. It seems to have dulled these relationships. I don't know if this is making any sense to you. It really doesn't matter because, like I said, this is about me right at the moment. So I'm doing all this calculating on my bicycle. I'm on really quiet streets, kids. It wasn't like I was competing with truck traffic. And I'm trying to think about how to divorce my notion of social neediness connection with social accessibility. I mean, you can want more friends, you can want relationships, you can want romance, you want whatever you want. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, right? And one thing Buddhism and 12 steps has taught me is acceptance. Be where you are. That's all you need to do. Just be in the moment. In the moment, everything's fine. So I'm churning this around in my head. And I'm thinking, you know what? It's time to clean my planet. I'll tell you what clean my planet means. When I went into treatment in 1982, they brought in this woman. She was some kind of counselor. I don't know. She was a one-time shot. We had your regular counselor you saw. You had other counselors who were seeing other patients, but were around the community. I was in treatment for 3 weeks, 1982, started Labor Day weekend, and went for 3 weeks Northwestern Hospital. So there was this lady, and she asked everybody to come up and on the board, chalkboard, didn't have whiteboard yet, right? Draw your planet, you're your planet, then draw uh, everybody else, like the people in your world. There's a word, it's escaping me. Anyway, so I got up when it was my turn. I drew things, stepped back, and she says, busy. It's pretty busy, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. Um, my planet does look busy, especially compared to the other patients who had gotten up and were drawing. Like your family, you might say, well, here's where my family sits, but here's friends way out here. Here's family. Here's your wife, whatever. You're doing that whole thing. So she said, do you need to be that busy? And so what I did was I went up to the board and started thinking about and started erasing people so that I would be less scattered. And I found that to be a good exercise. And I was thinking about it this morning that maybe it's time to clean my planet, except I told you earlier, when I had been thinking about it, I thought, I don't really have that many friends here. How do you clean a planet that isn't crowded? It's kind of a dilemma, but it's something I need to do because some people create this sense of superfluousness that's not healthy for me. Becky, yes, we are so used to not getting together. It's a shift to get back into it, right? When Chris, and I went to lunch, that was the first time I hung out with someone besides Chris away from home in a very long time. And I hope, Becky, that I was up to the task. Becky, Chris, and I went out to lunch about a week and a half ago. Oh my God. So we ate outdoors. I mean, that's preferable, really. I mean, I still don't like eating indoors. In the sun at lunchtime in Dallas. It was freaking miserable, right? And Becky, she was like, yo, let's not be stupid here, okay? Let's go sit over there. You see that? And here's what it was. There was a table pushed up against a fence, and there was this couple sitting there with their kid, and they were like pressed up against the fence for shade. It looked cumbersome when Becky said it, but she persisted, and we moved. And for God's sakes, it did help. I mean, it was the only shade around, and it was necessary, right? So, and it's even worse now. All right. So, sociability. What, I mean, I'm willing to add to this thing I just described, this planet. I'm more than happy to take on new persons, male or female, who share my values. I'm not eager to meet people who support Trump or anything. I've got my friends who support Trump are more than enough for me. Thank you. So I'm just working on making clear for me inside this thing I call my head. When am I adding value, given the time and effort it takes? Match.com, you freaking go through these photographs. You read their profiles. You find a handful that you think it would be interesting. You think they look good, they sound good, and you send off a message and you get bupkis back. Bupkis, nothing. You're like, well, maybe I spent too much time. All right. But then Sometimes, like 1 out of 40, you get a response. They like you back. Maybe they send a message, or whatever. So you engage and you expend this energy. You read the message, maybe reread the profile because they didn't get back to you until a week later, and you don't even remember who they are. You reread the profile, front to top to bottom, and then you reply, and then you wait. Maybe you get a reply back, maybe you don't. Sometimes you have maybe 10, 15 exchanges in 1 or 2 days, and then boom, silence, never hear again. And then, maybe a couple weeks later, you're like, I guess you lost interest? Question mark? Nothing, right? So that doesn't feel rewarding in terms of the effort I may put into it. So I'm just having to come up and figure out what is, if I'm being driven by this sensibility that I want to have somebody to hang out with, a female that I can go do things with when you want to be with a member of the opposite sex, even if it's not having sex. That's not what I'm talking about. Just talking about, hanging with the lady. Holding hands can be fun, right? Okay, so, but, and people say, well, the universe will deliver, it will happen when the universe is ready. Well, for those of you that are my age, 68, you're like, yes, screw that, man. 68 years old. I ain't got that many more years to nurture a relationship. I said it before on this podcast. You can't make old friends, new old friends. You can make new friends. Chris and Becky are new friends. I adore them. I'm happy to have met them. But you can't make new old friends. No matter how tight I may be with my new friends, they can't be old friends. Right? It's just like I'm 68, never going to be 67 again. Can't happen. So I wish to be prudent. Now, it so happens I met Chris in one of these tortured machinations that I'm talking about. So some people who attended my meditation a few times, a gay woman, and so we became friends on Facebook. She friended me because we knew each other from the meditation. She's younger. Then her girlfriend or lover, whatever, friended me after she came to meditation. So these two, and then there was this other woman who was a friend of theirs who somehow we became friends. And then she said, oh, how do you properly do something on a bicycle? I'm like, hello, I can show you how to do that properly on a bicycle. And some of the responses, I read them. I'm like, man, she needs help, right? Turns out she knows how to use her bike. Anyways, we met and we bicycled. And then I guess we met a second time, I think maybe over her objections. I don't know. Anyways, Chris showed up and this other person showed up. And, we just people chatting. Chris was clearly a kindred spirit. So I didn't have any way of meeting Chris if I hadn't made the effort to tell this other woman, I'll help you, I'll meet you, I'll bike with you, and I will model for you how you stop your bike under different circumstances, because it helps to know. Stopping a bike is really freaking important. So, and then Becky's Chris's wife. So there you got a twofer. Now, I know this all seems a little rambling, but well, I was going to say it's not rambling. Of course it's rambling, but we all are in relationships. Every human is in a relationship. Even if you're an isolationist and you don't enjoy the company of others, you have family or friends or somebody you interact with. You have to. Maybe your relationships are the clerks in the stores. I don't know. It doesn't matter. If you're going to expend the energy to communicate with other beings, anything besides the absolute necessities, like how much do I owe you, or do you have potatoes, whatever it is, if you're going to go the extra yard to be pleasant, to have an exchange that isn't what I would call necessity, then you're doing relationships. But most of us are not isolationists. Most of us are persons who engage. And so at some point, we all have been faced with, is this person of value in my life? Does this person add? Sometimes you have a person in your life who at some point brought a great deal to the relationship for whatever, but over years you've gone in different directions. Could be your spouse, could be a friend, right? And so you begin, and you at some point you realize, I'm putting energy in, but I'm not getting energy back. I walk with this woman once a week, and we've talked about this. Cynthia, she's married, been with her husband since high school, and we talk about exactly that kind of thing from time to time in this regard. Oh, yes, I have emailed this friend of mine a couple of times, but I almost never hear back. I know, isn't that frustrating? I say, yeah, I know that feeling. At some point, not going to send that next email. At some point. So there's this guy, Alan, in Chicago. We were friends of some sort for 30 plus years. And the way it works is might not talk to him for a year, but when I go back to Chicago, always call him. We always got together. We always went for long walks and explore and lunch. Really liked the guy. And he came to Tucson twice. So I went about 5 years ago. Hey, boom, leave a message, nothing. Text him, nothing. Never heard from him again. It was as if he died, but he didn't die. So I went by there last year. I made a report. Ricky and I went. I just went to his house because he never answered the phone, never answered a text, no communication whatsoever. Very unusual. And yet he wasn't dead. I knew that. I found that out, right? So, knock, knock, knock. Ricky was with me. He finally cracked open the door, said hello, and I'm like, hey, man, you mad at me for something? He said, no, I'm just busy. Just looked at me like no affect whatsoever. No, barely a look of recognition. I said, okay, I turned. He closed the door. Since then, I've had to thrash through my feelings about that. Like, I really came to the conclusion he died to me, that I do not need to ponder why, what, where. It's done, right? Yeah, Kathy knows, Alan. She says, that's on Alan, it's not on you. I assume you're right, although there is always this lingering thing about, did I say something or do something that may have been construed as offensive to him? But you're absolutely right, Kathy. Whatever bug Alan got up his ass, and I don't know what it is, but importantly is I've had to let it go. I'm not going to go back and knock on the door and go, last time I knocked on your door, I let you get away with just saying hello and saying, you're not mad at me, you're just busy. That's bullshit. You need to tell me what happened. What is the problem? So that ain't going to happen, right? I mean, I think about it. The New York Times did an article recently about a new phenomenon called friendship doubt. It's a result of people not reaching out to one another during the pandemic. And that's interesting. I said here, we started this in March, and I think I reported after a couple months that I was making less phone calls to friends during the pandemic, which I thought was kind of ass backwards because I couldn't visit with people. I thought initially I'll probably be on the phone more to people because I'm not going out and having coffee with them, right? And I wasn't the only one. Joan, you're right. I talked to other friends who said that as the pandemic wore on, they were having less social contact, that they just weren't using the phone. They weren't calling friends, or they weren't getting called, or if they got called, they weren't necessarily returning the call. An interesting article. I can't read the New York Times because they got a paywall up, and I won't pay them. But yeah, friendship doubt. It's a good concept. So I'm going to leave early. I'm going to leave in a moment. I hope I made some sense. As usual, I hope that by sharing my most intimate thoughts, I can stimulate for you permission to examine your own personal thoughts. And yeah. But I'm going to leave early. I'm going to do Mets in a moment, and then I'm going to head out to meet this person because I didn't finish the story. So I got off the bike at some point, and the gears were spinning, right? I just turbulence. And I always take my phone off the bike when I get to sit there, and I saw that I had a text and it was one of the responses from somebody on Facebook that I wanted to meet, but I decided that I had expended the energy, and you know what? They weren't responding. Screw this, right? Kind of thing. I live inside this thing, the cabeza. Cabeza, I live inside it. It's a dark, dreary place, right? Anyways, so I'm going to go get a cup of coffee with this person in a moment, so I got to leave. So I really enjoyed seeing y'all again. I had to go Sunday without you, and Sunday night arrives, and I don't have a podcast, and I'm still, well, you know what? I can sit around and start a movie, right? Because I won't be interrupted. I can, I don't know. I can do whatever I want. It's Sunday night. It's the only night I don't podcast. I don't have an AA meeting. I don't have anything. Oh, by the way, Friday I'm going to the symphony, though. My friend Wayne invited me to go to the symphony. Usually when a guy invites me to the symphony, it means he couldn't get a date. Spork. All right. Hands before your hearts. Bow your heads and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Think to yourself, may I be happy, healthy, free from harm, free from anger, anxiety, and fear. May this practice of ours lead to greater peace and comfort in our lives. May my mother and father and all my friends and all my family be happy, be healthy, and free from all forms of suffering. May they too find a path that guides them to a life of greater peace and comfort. And to those I find difficult, for whatever reason, if it's only in this very brief moment, let's send them goodwill. Whomever these persons may be to you, may they be happy, healthy, free from harm. May they be enjoying lives of comfort and peace and even joy. And to all living beings throughout the entire universe, we're generating this goodwill, and collectively let it seek out like sun rays to all living beings that they may be happy, healthy, free from harm. May all living beings live their lives in safety, comfort, and peace. Satu, Satu, Satu. So,